All right, how's everybody?
Well, Pete's here, so we can get started.
Sorry, guys.
I'd welcome everyone to the school board meeting tonight. Present are Mrs. Carney, Mrs. Johnson, Mr. McKee, myself, Richard Lamb, Mr. Walmsley, Mr. Cornea, Mr. Saby, Superintendent Lamborn, Principal Larson, Principal Taylor, and members of the public, and we appreciate your being here. We will begin with Mr. McKee giving us some remarks, and then Mr. Saby leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father in heaven, grateful to be here, grateful to be in such a wonderful community. And Father, we pray that as we discuss Ridge School District today, that we can have thy spirit to be with us, help us to be mindful of the students and of community teachers and other faculty. Pray that we'll be guided to continue to create an atmosphere that can lift and guide our youth. We love thee. We say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have, looks like a few requests to address the board.
Here we go. Minutes first, or
Oh, yeah, I'm skipping on. Has everyone had a chance to read over the minutes?
I'll make a motion that we set those minutes.
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Expenditures.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
We have a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Voting's unanimous on both of those. Okay. On the request to speak, we have academic decathlon and Sterling Scholar.
Well,
Yes, sir.
so we've had two events this last month that I think are pretty cool. The first was the Academic Olympiad. This is something that we take a group of seniors over to Utah State, and they compete. And I'm gonna let Jeremy. He participated in both events. So I'll let him kind of address that, but give you some context. They go and they take some tests, and then there's a kind of a contest where they compete against all the other schools in northern Utah, most of the big schools, and had a pretty good experience then. And then we also had three, let me just tell you who our academic Olympiad people were. We had Max Perry, Cooper Hunter, Jeremy Brown, Holt Argyle, Hazer Hoffman, Jamie Meekum, Jaslyn Chandler, and Olivia Argyle all went to do that. And then in addition to that, here just recently, we had three Sterling Scholars. Mika Anderson, who was our dance Sterling Scholar, Jamie Meekum, who was our English literature, and then Jeremy Brown was in science. They all did really well, but Jeremy was one of the first runner-ups. So they go down and they compete with, again, schools of all sizes, and they have a winner, and then they have two runners-up, and it's anybody who's been involved with Sterling Scholar knows to be a runner-up is a pretty cool event. And if it's all right with you all, I'd like to invite Jeremy to kind of tell you about those two events and his experience.
I guess I'll start with the Academic Olympiad. So that was actually super fun. We went down there kind of impromptu. Other schools, we talked to some of the other advisors at some of the other schools, and they'll actually dedicate months of study and prep going into it. Like, they take it super seriously. All of us that went down, we all were taking a full college load. And so we kind of just thought we'd go down there and see how it went. We went down, they had us take 4 tests in different categories. They ranged from like general science to social studies. We had an English and a math, and they were challenging, not gonna lie. And walking into that room and hearing some of those kids just talk and amongst themselves in their schools. We all kind of felt a little inadequate going into there, but we had a pretty good showing. We performed better than we thought. And then they have what's called the Battle of Olympus, which is more of a kind of like a combination of Family Feud and Jeopardy type thing, where all the schools send a person up one at a time. They give you a question, your team answers it, and then they total the points and you battle to see who comes out on top. And we actually were right there neck to neck the whole time with 4A, 5A, 6A schools right up there competing with them. So we weren't washed out like we thought we were going to be, considering we hadn't gone into it super prepared, but it was definitely a good experience. We had a lot of fun. Sterling Scholar was a little more intimidating, I guess I will say. State is divided into different regions with Sterling Scholar. It's not a whole statewide thing. They divide it into regions. So we're in with like new, so the Northeastern region. And they take, I believe there's 15 different categories, and at the school level, you send one person per each category if you can fill all the slots. So as he said, Mika was for dance, Jamie was for English literature, and I was for general science. And you fill out a portfolio. It takes in all of your leadership experience, all of your community service, your academics, and then category specific things. And you compile that. You go down, this year was held at UVU's campus. You have an interview with people that are experts in your category, and then they take your portfolio score, your interview score, and then your academics and some other things that they factor into it. And that's how they determine who becomes the Sterling Scholars and the 2 runners up for each category. Rich School District provided me a lot of the opportunities that allowed me to be runner-up, whether it be from Bridgerland, taking classes from Lacey in medical terminology, or drug dosages, or concurrent, because they factor all of your college classes in for your academic way. So for me being able to go in and show that my portfolio was full with a full college load, that I'm graduating with my associates, that I have all of these different science classes, it was able to get me up there to be, I think I'm one of 6 maybe in our school's history that's been able to be a runner-up. So super fortunate to be able to get that. And then along with that, it gives me $1,000 scholarship. So super fortunate. It's a really good experience. I would encourage any of the younger classmen that are interested even a little bit to go ahead and fill out that portfolio, because it's definitely worth it, but it was a lot of fun.
We recently changed our advisors of our Sterling Scholar, and we anticipate more participation next year. So, hopefully.
Any questions for Jeremy?
I don't know that I have a question, but I really appreciate your being here and sharing that with us. As a board, that's our focus, is on how our students can compete. And that's evidence that we've got our ducks in a row. And we really appreciate that.
Hey, you consider Jeremy comes from a graduating class of 25, and in the schools they were competing against, probably anywhere from 2 to maybe 400 or 500 graduating class. More big schools.
Yeah, congratulations, Jeremy. That's
Thank
cool.
you. Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
And he had all these lines memorized too.
Yeah, he did a great job in the musical as well.
Thank you. And you're welcome to hang around for more of the board meeting. Or
I'm available.
Thank you, guys. Yeah. Oh, we got to practice people skills too. That was really fun.
Mr. Smith.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to come to the board today to tell you about a grant that I received. So I'm pretty excited about it, and yeah, it's kind of a big deal. So I think that you guys should be aware of it. So just thought I'd come and tell you about it in person. But it's a STEM grant, and you guys probably all know STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And with this grant, it's a new program. So it goes for 5 years. So it's a 5-year grant, but it's not so much of a grant in just a grant as like a whole program. So it's a pilot program, and I'm one of 30 across the state. So out of the hundreds of teachers across the state, they selected 30. And so I'm one of them that gets to participate in this, and so I'm really excited about that. But it's a pilot program, so they're hoping to continue it year after year, but they're gonna test it out with me and my cohort of other group of participants first. So but kind of the purpose of it is to try to embed a little bit more science and STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, embed a little bit more science into kind of a local culture at a, whether it's a school or district or community level. But like when you think about, I think we have great science teachers and other related, STEM teachers. But outside of the classroom, there's not a lot of opportunities. And even like at Bridgerland, there's awesome classes and unique opportunities for our students, but there's not a lot of opportunities outside of the classes. And so whether it's like a science fair and the things they do with this grant could take a lot of forms. So we'll have to see how things play out the next 5 years. But as I do this, but it could be, like a science fair, robotics competitions. A lot of schools have chain reaction competitions where they build things that like one thing affects another, and they have teams that go down and compete. They've got maker spaces where they build things and go down and have even maker space competitions, and like coding and hacking and just a bunch of these, sometimes they're called 21st century skills, but these competitions and things that are clubs and teams and scholarship opportunities that I think we're doing a great job of teaching our students. But outside of sports, there's not a whole lot, and some music, but there's not a whole lot of extracurriculars. So this would just be one more kind of extracurricular niche that could kind of help reach some of those students. Because I know at the middle school, there's a certain group of students that I think about from time to time that aren't so interested in sports, but they also need a social life. Like really, there's some of the students that go home and play video games. And so they need a reason to stay at school and do something social, but sports don't appeal to them. And so if there's something we could do to kind of draw them in and help them improve their social skills, that would be one important thing. But then also science and technology opportunities for them. So yeah, I'm excited to participate in this pilot program, and that's something you guys should be aware of. And so it goes for 5 years. I already said that, but they call it the SEI. I think it stands for like STEM Educator Innovators, something like that. And so it's $10,000 a year, but 75% of that is an educator stipend. So basically what that says, and what I've been told in the conversations with the people of the state, that they expect the teachers to do, like myself, to do a lot of work with this, like plan the science fair, plan the club, plan the team events, whatever direction you end up taking with it, put in a ton of late work. And so then they compensate you for that time to get this foundation set established. And then they have a bunch of trainings that you go to teach you how to do this and how to be effective at it. And then the other 25% of the grant is each year is just for supplies or however you can use it to make things happen. So anyway, so I'm really excited about it. That's really where my passion is doing what I can to help kids, to lift them in some way, first of all, and secondly, doing things that help them get excited about learning and excited about science, and find ways to see if that might play a role in their own future, and if so, help prepare them for that future. And that excites me. And so I hope to be able to help our students with this. And yeah, so I just thought I'd tell you guys about it. And I don't know if you have any questions.
So I don't know. Question, where did you find out about the grant? Like did you just research it? Did you find it?
So that's one of the things that's good too. I like how we have the last several years had in our district that teachers can get reimbursed or get have professional development days to go down and attend conferences. But one of these conferences that I was at was a state science conference I'd heard about. And so when I was there, I signed up for an email to be on an email list of emails from the state science department. That's not what it's called. I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but they I signed up to be on an email list to get emails from them because of one of these conferences I was at. And so I get their emails, and one of their emails talked about this grant opportunity. So yeah, I thought I'd go for it. And I didn't actually think that I stood much of a chance necessarily, but I thought I'd go for it anyway. But
So are you the only staff member that'll be involved in it then?
in the grant, yes, but obviously it's gonna take teamwork of, communicating with other staff members and working together. But yeah, but yeah. So I'm the only one that was involved in the grant, but definitely I recognize the need to, to reach out and work with my fellow staff members.
Be involved in sports.
And it's something, hopefully, I mean, it could carry on if, if other staff members want to do it in the future. They're planning to continue doing this, so.
So is this to fund extracurricular activities? In other words, not for what'll be done in your classroom, but what's done after school or?
Right, so the point of it is to try to get a little bit more STEM into the culture of our district, or the give students more opportunities outside of the classroom. Yeah, exactly, outside the classroom, so.
Awesome.
So I think we have a lot of good things happening already in our classrooms, and this is just something, and I think it's important too to realize it doesn't take away from, ball teams or whatever. It's just another opportunity for the kids that maybe are off season, if it's not their season for whatever sport they're interested in, or some of these kids that aren't interested in sports, to give them an opportunity to have something to be social, a way to socialize and something to be involved in. And so, yeah.
I love it. I love that you took that initiative. Holy cow.
Well, yeah, thanks. Appreciate that.
Yeah, sounds like good stuff.
So anyway, it should be good. I'm excited for it. And it'll, like I say, it goes for 5 years. And I think, I'm not 100% sure exactly what shape it's going to take over the next 5 years. But like I said, they're going to have a lot of trainings and things for me too. And so as I learned there, that might affect kind of how things go. But as far as my vision of it at this point would be to just provide opportunities for the students and maybe some after school clubs. I know that's tricky. Mr. Larson doesn't really like clubs, but maybe we can do some science. I don't know. Well, I'll have to talk to you and figure out, but some after school opportunities of some kind of teams or opportunities for the students. So.
Well, my niece, she was kind of in the same group of kids that you're talking about, not totally into sports and whatnot, but definitely sought that social atmosphere still. And they threw together this robotics team, and they actually competed in Utah, and they went and competed at the national level. So I think it's awesome that because there definitely are those kids that, I mean, and you'll even find that some of the kids will be involved in sports and whatnot, and they'll want to come in and be part of whatever you got going on. So
yeah, well, thank you. Definitely.
So your superintendent doesn't forget and go brain dead next spring. Would you make sure that a year from now you remind me, and I'll try and remember too, that get you back on the report.
Oh, kind of report back on it. Yeah.
Sure. I may forget, but we'll have you on, because I think a report each year about what's happening, the number of kids involved, things you're doing would be really good.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, yeah, thank you. And that's all that I had. Just wanted to inform you about that. So
it's not an agenda item, but follow up on a little bit with what that is. We also have our Skills USA coming up. When's that, Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, well, Thursday, Friday. Yep.
Maybe you can tell a little bit about that, because some of you may, if you're around, may want to attend that.
Sure. We're taking 19 kids down. We have one team of 4 will be participating in an entrepreneurship contest on Thursday morning. And we have 2 teams of 2 that are going to be competing in additive manufacturing. We have 2 kids going in CNC, one CNC 3-axis and one CNC programming, I think. We got another kid who's doing job skill demonstration. We've got 3 in med terms and 2 in first aid. Missing 1. Oh, and then 2 that are doing CAD, technical design. Yeah, so 19. We're feeling pretty good about it. Mr. Peterson and Mr. Eborn have been doing a good job prepping them, better than we've probably done in maybe ever. So we might have some winners in another rolling in there.
Where is this?
It's down in Salt Lake Community College. Well, they're actually going to compete in 3 different places. In Lehigh for the CNC, Salt Lake Community College for most of it, and then the down to UVU for what they did at UVU. One of the other competitions. Can't remember which one.
The medical.
Medical in one of them. Yeah.
This
it'll be good.
Thursday?
Yep, this Thursday and Friday. It's Skills USA is kind of, it's scattered all over the valley. They kind of go where they can. And then Friday evening, they all come back to the Salt Lake Community College and have the awards assembly. We're kind of on top of a track meet, so most of our kids will stay to the awards assembly, but some might jump on the bus and go to the track meet. And I'll take the rest of the ones down after the awards assembly. We've got about 6 kids crossing over the track meet in Skills USA this weekend. I think a bunch of them are out to Bridgeland right now prepping, so. Yeah, should be good.
Yeah, and it might be on the agenda next time. Well, it probably will be on the agenda because we'd like to have those kids coming
Be good.
forward.
They'll see how we do.
But a few years ago, we had a student participate and qualify for nationals, and we made that happen for him. And his grandfather went with him to nationals and said it was an incredible experience. So I think if we get some kids that qualify for nationals, we'll need to make that happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Decent chance.
Somebody gets phones on in there when you go
You want
shut
me
it
to
off
shut it
for him. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for participating in that. I know one kid was pretty excited about it.
You got a good chance.
Well, good. Commissioner Cox, are you here to observe?
Well, the superintendent and I had a conversation before the meeting. I needed to clear some things up. And well, maybe I'll just step in for a second about that. The county contracts with Bear River Mental Health, and part of their contract with the county is to provide your counselors in the schools, your mental health counselors in the schools. And one of the concerns that I have is, because I'm on the Bear River Mental Health Board, is are we covering the bases with them? Do we need to up their hours? Do we need another additional one? I heard some information that there may be some other counselors that may become involved. I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. I have no idea. But from another organization. But I told Superintendent Lambert to stay in touch with us, so that if we need to, if we're not fulfilling the need. She's over here 1 day a week, I know. And then I know she's doing telehealth on Friday. And if we're still not covering the need for our kids, then we need to step the program up and get another half a day or another full day for another counselor or her, give her another day. And if the county needs to step in to do that, we will do that. I think we all know how important counseling is, and it's interesting. If a lot of these things, as kids are struggling, if they can have some counseling early on, it stops tragedy down the road with them. So just want to bring that to your attention, and if you hear of things, please contact me that, a bad experience, or the opportunity wasn't there, or the outcome hasn't been as good as the parents or the teachers or counselors who are kind of, monitoring that, let me know anything that we have so we can address those things. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
I don't know, I touched base with Commissioner Lee the other night, he lined it up. I'm sure he knew that. I said, we'll see you on Monday, and he said, yes, so I don't.
He texted me today and said he wasn't gonna make it. He was at a meeting, so.
All right, didn't know that.
Mrs. Lutz.
And Brother Wilson, we're a team tonight. Do you want me to do?
Go for it. I'll say amen or whatever I need to say.
Just pretty straightforward and easy. 2 requests. We're trying to, and last year, as a booster club, we bought a whole bunch of equipment for the weight room, and we want to continue. Oh, sorry, my foot's asleep. We want to continue to do some more work in the weight room. What we're hoping is that we can go in, just clean it up, but have a work day. We have the athletes and coaches kind of on board to do a day. I don't know when or how or whatever, but to come in, clean it up. But we really want to take some of the stuff that's on the walls, the old, I don't know if you've been in there, they have old like fabric on the walls, repaint it. We want to put in a sound system, just kind of spruce it up. There's old, what do you call them? The benches that have all been duct taped. We want to replace those. We bought huge mirrors. We already have the mirrors, but we just want to take down, what's on the wall, paint it, put up the mirrors. Anyway, just kind of giving you a heads up. I don't know how much leeway we need, how much we need to ask for those kinds of things. Just kind of replace things as it comes up, as coaches request. I know, last year we did a couple different weight machines and a football hitting dummy. Anyway, just kind of do free weights as they see fit. So I don't know if, how much leeway we're not knocking down walls. And although we would like to make it bigger, I don't think that's that's our prerogative, but just kind of, paint, spruce it up.
And we've had a conversation with Mr. Lim about that, and I think he'd be very willing to facilitate in any way he can. So I don't see a problem with what you're saying. We had that conversation with Mr. Lim and Mr. Taylor. We'd like to.
Yeah, he's already commented. He put the mirrors up, and I said, I want to paint before we do the mirrors. So, just kind of getting permission to do that. Second thing is the Booster Club. Several of the coaches have just requested we get more money per student. They have, as you can imagine, the list of hopes and dreams is long and big, but we just want to kind of help facilitate that. So one of the things that we've come up with in order to help do that is a new banner program. We're going to keep what's there. The banners, Kim Wilson was in charge of that and did an awesome job of getting those down and re-up the ones that were renewed. But we kind of want to do a white, blue, and black club, black, blue, and white, whatever you want to call it, club. And in the gym where the school song is, but like across from the camera, do 3 of those, have them be pretty big banners and have logos on them. We're thinking like $1,000 club, a $2,500 club, and a $5,000 club. Each one of those, you get a logo and a banner. It would be straight across where the cameras Brother Leifson is on the camera, so we're gonna have him zone in on those quite a bit. It's straight across from the camera, so it'll get a little bit more attention than the banners on the end for their money. We've come up with a couple of different ways to justify their money in those different clubs. T-shirts all the way up to, we actually just had a conversation with getting a commercial on at the state games. So one of our fundraisers, or, you know, one of the packages would include that as a benefit to be on a commercial at the state. So all of that just enables us to raise more money. So permission, once again, just to do banners. The one that the school song, this is just, I'm so bad at dimensions, but I think the school song one is probably like 5x8, 6x8, something like that. We would make them a little narrower, do 3 of them, but hang them on that other side. So they would be pretty big, noticeable. Like I know Staker Parsons, a whole bunch of people. I've had 3 this year actually come to me and say, I will give you more money, but I don't want just a little banner on the end. So that's kind of what prompted this whole thing, was a way to make a club. We want to include everybody, but make a, yeah, I don't know, way to make more money and a way to honor those.
It's kind of hard to tell them, yeah, we can put a bigger banner up unless we have permission to put the banner up. So we can't take their money and say, yeah, you can do that for a bigger donation. And then, sorry, we didn't get permission to put your banner up, but it's hanging in the locker room.
Well, and we had somebody come to say, I want to give you a whole bunch of money, but I want to buy 15 of the, we can't very well do that either. And so we didn't get that money because they wanted the whole gym with just theirs. So this was just kind of a way to keep the banners on the end are our bread and butter. That's what pays for, I mean, the uniforms, you know, so we can't do away with that. We need to keep that. But this is just a way to, and hopefully get some of the businesses, corporate sponsors and that kind of thing. So I don't have an exact size. I was going to measure Rick, excuse me, and have somebody draw that up and tell me what would look good. So I can't say a specific size, but 3. Yeah. 3 different sizes. That's our, yeah, dreams. Bradley Holmes said he would be on the, helping me fill those banners and get those corporate sponsors. I think we can raise $30,000 pretty dang easy, and that would help, yeah, everybody. We'd split it out. We haven't 100% decided. We think we're gonna split it out per athlete, per sport, because that's about the only way we can do that fairly. We're up for any other ideas you have though too then.
Is there a policy that we have to, like, from my understanding, this is more like the administration. Is that a decision that is made here? And is that, with it not being an action item, can we even make a decision right now on this?
Not right now, we're going to do it on the action item.
Let's put it on for next month.
Have you got that all listed out?
We've come up with some, yeah, I mean, rough ideas, nothing set in stone until we have, I didn't want to put a whole bunch of legwork in until I knew we could do it. But yeah, as far as which amount, what they got, is that what you're asking?
No,
Like, so, okay,
like
sorry,
what you want to do.
just 3 banners.
I just wanted a list so that, and not in the heat of the meeting, I can look at it and say, oh, yeah, that's what they want.
Okay, I can,
Basically a bigger banner than the ones that are on the 2 ends.
they'd be more school song sized, the one.
But if you've been to like North Summer, some of them, they have different donation levels, and it would be similar to that.
See that North Summit.
Most places that you go have them, and they're done in a variety of different ways. That just enabled us to keep what we have that's been working and then just add to it, so.
The majority of the ones that have the banners on the end are community members and ranchers, and they're just up there. They're not worried about bigger, better, more exposure. They're happy with what they've got, and they're doing it just to help the program. but there are getting more and more companies that want the bigger exposure, so. It's an easier way than trying to go down the roll of electric banners and those kind of things, which are probably more common.
Yeah. Well, we were gonna talk about some of that stuff anyway later, right? So
Yeah, let's go.
let us talk about it.
Have you got any questions for us?
No,
I don't write off.
I think that's a good idea, if you can put it down to where we know, go back to it and say this is what they want to do, show us, so relying on our memory.
And we have a rough outline
We
of
have, yeah, I
what
mean, we
each
just,
group would have.
we kind of brainstormed, but we haven't like said anything in stone yet, so.
Yeah, write us something out.
Okay.
So look at it.
And then have something for them by next month.
And if you'd also on that list, put what you want to do in the weight room and that kind of stuff.
And I think that's more just a work, right now, paint was kind of the big deal. That's just kind of a, coaches have requests along the ways, you know what I mean? Make sure that what's in there is in good shape. So I don't know that that's anything super. I mean, that might just kind of come up continually is all I'm thinking, so.
Is that something we just need to coordinate with Mr. Lim, or is that something that needs to be approved as well?
Well, I think the things you brought up tonight, the mirrors and stuff have been approved, but there's something, beyond that.
anything to get kids in the weight room. That's
Well, and
good.
it kind of benefits the sports, all of them, everybody, wrestlers, football, basketball, volleyball, they all, I'll use it, I'll can or shoot.
Okay, thank
Sounds
you.
good. Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome to stay, just like Jeremy was.
I got other places to be.
Okay, action items. Social studies adoption.
I read all these books.
Zach's got them down, he knows exactly what they are.
Would you share it with us, everyone?
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
See you guys. Yeah, you're probably too young to remember Evelyn Woods. She had a speed reading deal. Yeah, Evelyn Woods speed reading.
So go ahead.
Wasn't sure if it was
Yeah,
here.
yeah, sure.
You wanted to say anything else? So we have a rotation. It's every 6 years we adopt a new curriculum. And this year to adopt for the 23-24 year is social studies. So we had our committee, we got together, we've decided on, with seventh grade is unique because it's Utah studies and there's not a lot of curriculum companies out there that have Utah studies. So Gibbs Smith is the only curriculum vendor out there that has that, and we are currently using that right now. And Mrs. Johnson at the middle school said that we would just go ahead and continue with Gibbs Smith for seventh grade. So I don't have that one here, but I called on it. It's the exact same curriculum that we have. In the past, I did not do the last social studies adoption. The principals used to be over this, so now that this one is being adopted, I will have been in charge of all of them now. So that's a little scary. But we got together, we decided on Cengage, and it's a National Geographic company, so they partner with National Geographic. It was so impressive. The demos were just, the videos and the pictures were just amazing because of it being National Geographic. The videos were just like you were right there. We had them on the panel up in front of us and we were all pretty impressed with it. They also are able to do, like they can, and this was at the middle school level, and they're working on the high school level also, but at the middle school level, they can adapt the readability of the books. So if you have students, like curriculum is always a little bit higher than the actual grade level that it's being taught at because it's at an instructional level. So it's supposed to have teacher support. If you look in there, all of the keywords are highlighted, the vocabulary words, all of those things are highlighted. And when they're online, when we adopt, what we have learned And Mrs. Johnson really was adamant that we do this. She says last time she adopted, they only did the actual books. And so the kids just had the laptop version. So these had the digital curriculum. So she asked if we could do both this time. And that is something that we found is very important. You know, days when power's out or the internet's down, we can still carry on because there is a textbook. So it's not a whole lot more to do both. And so it's worth the money to go ahead and do both. Let's see. One thing that we've had problems with in the past with some of our other curriculums are the videos. You can ask teachers at every level, videos that are actually a YouTube video, they get blocked, especially by the student computers. It's so frustrating. So we asked that question. These are not YouTube videos. The videos they're right in the portal. So that was one major thing that we were excited about.
So I'm gonna go to the site right here on this book. I don't know, are they all the same?
Yeah, they're all Cengage. I'll show you
It is
that.
ngl.cengage.
Yeah.
So I go to this and it goes, welcome to your course registration and your course key. So is it like, do they like enter something, some number, something like that off this book and it like takes them
So
to this?
you
or
have
how
to
do
have it, you have to have an actual,
course key? So you
yeah.
got it.
We do what's it called? When they do a demo, that's what it's called. When we do the demos, then we get on and we have all those keys and everything for them to get on. So the teachers have been in and looked at that.
So the students will have a physical book
A physical book
And
and
then the
a digital
ability
subscription.
to go on and.
Yes. And then the teachers will have a teacher's portal where they can actually see everything that happens from the student side. But they also can look at the assignments, grade assignments. They can give assignments, give tests, all those types of things online. And this, another huge thing, it integrates with Canvas. So the teachers were excited to hear that. Canvas is our learning platform.
Yeah, and it integrates with it.
It does integrate with Canvas. So that's huge, as you guys both know. If it doesn't integrate with Canvas, it was a problem, especially during COVID. The biggest reason that we are bringing this to you tonight is Senate Bill 55 was just passed in this legislative session, and the governor signed up Friday. And so we now have to bring all of our curriculum in front of our local boards and have it approved. There's 15 pages of what we need to do.
Yay.
It's a lot. And no, there's no fiscal note.
I know. There's not a lot of fiscal notes this year.
Right.
Meaning we're being asked to do a lot more, but.
No money attached. Did you have any questions on any of it?
I think going with National Geographic's a good thing. They seem to know what they're doing.
Yeah, we looked at probably 6 or 7 programs. We chose 3. We had demos from the 3 different companies, and this was like way
This
above.
looks like it's really good.
Well, they're nice books.
So are they, I mean, you know how they try to rewrite history kind of nowadays? I mean, is that a problem? I'm not saying with these, but you hear that, you know,
Right.
how,
Are they ever biased one way or the other?
yeah, I mean, you want them to be accurate, I guess, is what I'm saying.
And I'm not a history expert.
Right.
But the teachers that were in there, we spent quite a bit of time. Superintendents looked through them. He's a history guy. They really liked it and said it's the real deal. So.
For me, I'm not gonna speak for the rest of the board. For me, I hope that the teachers feel comfortable and I hope that they know that we're gonna rely on them. Like if they come across something in this and going, hey, you guys might wanna, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. It's rewriting history or
Right,
students that like,
right.
we're gonna depend a lot on the teachers to
Okay,
help us.
I'll
you know.
definitely let them know that.
So, yeah, I hope they feel comfortable like bringing that up through you guys and whatnot, or even, yeah. So,
I'll say a couple of things. I think to Scott's point, one of the things that Mrs. Cornea has really tried to push over the last few years and few adoptions is that if we adopt solid curriculum and then teach that curriculum and don't go pulling a bunch of stuff from outside, then we're gonna be better off. And especially in social studies, I think a lot of the places where where districts have had problems, it's when teachers have gone outside the textbook and started teaching their own philosophy.
Their own, yeah.
And that can be very problematic. I didn't see, and some people can find fault with a lot of things, but as I went through, I certainly didn't read them all, but looking through it, I think it's history, but it's, when you get some guy that's got personal views and starts putting a lot of that in, that's when you get a lot of problems. So I would, and like I said, Mrs. Corney has been very good about that in terms of, once we buy curriculum, and our elementary especially, you used to go out and get stuff off Teacher Pay Teacher or the newest little cutesy thing. And since we've, the last two adoptions, especially this one with into reading, and our teachers have bought into that pretty good, I think, that we're gonna use this and we're not gonna, and there's the other thing that's nice about these new curriculum, the online piece has every kind of way more resources than you'd ever need. So it's not like, oh, you're just doing straight down, but there's all kinds of backup resources. And then I didn't go in when they were adopting this, but the videos and the stuff that come with it.
There's extension
Incredible.
activities, so you can really scaffold your instruction. So they were excited about that.
So there's just not a lot of reason to go out and pull in controversial stuff.
Right.
I hope.
I agree. I mean, you want it to be because history's history.
Yes.
And I agree with Zach. I mean, if there's ever a question, it would be nice to know that.
Okay.
And
Just saying.
But they probably ought to run it by you before they just
Yeah.
tax it.
Yeah.
Well, or the principals.
Yeah.
They would reach out to the principal, I mean, I think. Or Jackie does a lot, as an instructional coach, she's been helping every teacher, so sometimes they hear her and stuff like that, so. I'm not sure.
But that's a good thing, and we can pass that on as you go through this, the first year. Make sure you know, and I think another thing that would be good to tell them is, don't ever show a video they haven't watched, because sometimes that's when you get in trouble is, well, it's coming out and I haven't watched it, but I'll just, wasn't quite ready to throw it up there. That can get you in trouble. So,
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not even saying it's gonna be an issue, but we don't really want it to either, so.
Right,
Yeah.
we don't want to go there. I've got lots
Right.
of curriculum friends that are having those kinds of problems right now. I'm so thankful to work here.
Yeah, because I think our district's good and I would like to keep it that way.
I agree.
So,
Well, I think a part of that's because of the teachers we've hired.
yeah, oh, yeah.
It's all about the people, you can buy the best curriculum. And if you don't have teachers that really have a passion for teaching, it doesn't matter what the curriculum is. And I'd like to set them up with the very best and let them have some buy-in. I think that's really important. That they're on the committee and decide what they want. And have plenty of time to look around.
So do we need a motion to adopt?
yep, so we're in compliance with the new bill.
I'll make the motion. We adopt the social studies.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. And the vote was unanimous.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being willing to purchase. It's not cheap. I appreciate that. You know what? Our teachers are so appreciative of all of the new curriculum that they get, and to know that it's coming every 6 years and know that you guys care about it makes a big difference for them.
That was my question, is how long will this raise last? Not the books,
6 years.
physically books, but how long?
6-year adoptions, yeah.
That's a pretty good stretch of time.
But what we saw at the beginning of the meeting is the result of being willing to pay for
Absolutely.
this. You have those kind of kids that are doing things that kids from this size of a school shouldn't be able to compete as well as they are, but it's because we've had our ducks in a row, stuff like this. And we do appreciate that. All right. Next item, staffing.
Mr. President, I suggest maybe that we postpone this in the agenda and go into an executive session and come back and do it. So especially on the provisional teachers, if there's any questions, we probably should address those in closed session.
You make a motion to table that, well, I guess. Could have made a motion to switch to the end.
So school fees, is that the next one that we
Yep.
can attack here?
That was presented last month.
And we just need to
We
ratify
adopted
it.
it. We'll just need to ratify unless there's some changes you'd like to see made.
I'd make a motion, we ratify.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to ratify the school fees. All in favor? Aye. Voting is unanimous on that. Calendar, 23-24 school year.
I probably muddied the waters, if you had a chance to look at that. We talked about a couple of calendars last time. Mr. McKee brought up some questions last time, and as I got thinking about his questions, which I didn't jump on very readily last meeting, I think it has some merit. I've been one that didn't want to cut any more days out of our calendar, but it's in the backup that I gave you there. We can do one day and still be 2 hours over the minimum. When we started looking for, last time it was, we kind of were given the directive to look at a Friday that wouldn't be very highly impacted, and pretty much every Friday after state basketball is. So if we did have a snow day, we could put it in there and kind of see exactly where the calendar was, go as little impact as possible. The other thing that came up at the regional school board meeting the other day, sitting across the table from Superintendent Dixon, is, maybe the latitude to call it a online day. And that has some merit, except that I'm not sure that it'd be a real effective online day when the teachers are in Garden City and didn't know it was going to be an online day and didn't have anything home to do online. So
Yeah, it would need to be planned online day.
Yeah.
You'd have to plan it.
I just think
or something.
to do that, let the teachers know at 7:30 in the morning, hey, we're going to be online. It's going to be really good. I don't see that happening, even though she said that those kind of things might be an option, but but again, we haven't had that many, and if we have to do a Friday, I don't know that it's any worse to put it in. We just need to note on our calendar that if we have a snow day, that a Friday will be selected.
So the calendar that
So I
I'm recommending is it the C? Okay. So on C, I noticed that March 8th wasn't grayed out. So is that
we do
that
have
the
to
day?
go that. No,
We do have to go.
we still go to that. If we take
Because that's the
President's Day
19th.
off,
So I was thinking that we could take the 19th without having to go Friday, only if we needed to take a snow day. But you're saying if we take that 19th off, February 19th, we would need to go on Friday just to meet the minimum.
yeah,
And that's still with just only going 2 hours above the.
right.
And that Friday was the musical, because we were running the bus anyway.
Musical rehearsal week.
Took me a long time to figure this out. It's leap year, which makes you think you'd have an extra day. But it widened it out, take one more day plus the leap year, and basically what we've done is made summer 1 week longer and the school year 1 week shorter.
Because of one day.
Because a leap year and the additional days, you're moving the summer down. I think. I was like, why, we should have extra, we're gonna leap. Well, basically what happened is that like that, and then it sucked down the school year to the bookends. So your summer's longer by a week. It's made everything tighter.
We recounted and recounted.
It's a long time.
If you notice in calendar C at the bottom, it's only 154 days instead of 155 total days.
Okay. And that's with going March 8th. So
Yeah,
if we had a snow day, we would need to go another Friday, right?
yes, that's
Which
correct.
would run into,
Which would be in the spring sometime. We tried then to compare it against the golf schedule and the track schedule and do this.
if we had to do that, I think it would be worth doing like a planned online day or something like that.
Maybe
Possibly,
if that's an option.
For a snow day.
yeah, to remake, to make up that
Right.
day.
I see what you're saying.
So you would take the day off. Not do the online day that day, take, just cancel school or whatnot if you had to. And then
One of
do a
the Fridays.
planned online day some other Friday. Later in the year.
I like it better than trying to pretend you're having an online day the day of the snow.
Because that's what happens.
Assignment one, go shovel your school. Yeah, I saw the assignments that some of their snow days were. Shovel your walk, tend your sister.
Is that the one that President's Day at the bottom of the calendar's got the wrong date? One of them show President's Day.
Oh, yeah, it does say February 20th, you're right, at the bottom, underneath the month.
Yeah, well, thanks. February 19th.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming the rest of the state doesn't have a date because we're not sure yet.
Yeah. She'll have girls and boys.
And then the other thing that I didn't put on calendar C that I wanted final feedback from the board. So our recommendation as an administrative team is that we go the week for teacher in service. Go the 9th and the 10th. So that
Which
we're not
month we talking
August.
August 9th and 10th. We've traditionally gone the week right before school starts, but that's fair. There's some teachers that makes, especially if their kids are involved in 4-H, that's a.
I was thinking it was a fair week, so the fair week is that second full week.
It's a week right before school starts.
It's the 14th through the 18th.
Because that's 7th to the 11th, okay.
So if we did the teacher in service, the 9th and 10th,
That might give the teachers a few extra days too, if they want
implement
to
stuff.
get something done.
Yeah.
And then Wasatch Back, they call it the Wasatch Back Conference. There's a PD day in Heber City where the news region and Wasatch facilitates it very nicely. They bring in a bunch of big time presenters from Solution Tree, which is one of the best PD companies out there. And so our teachers could choose to go to that on the 11th if they wanted. That's why some say, well, why didn't you go the 10th and 11th? Because we want to leave the 11th open for Wasatch Back.
Do we have pretty good participation in that?
Considering summer, we had quite a few teachers there last year.
Good. So do we need a motion to approve?
Quick question before we make a motion. Were you able to look at that, the waivers on the waiver for the days that we have? Did it mention anything on that professional development stuff?
No,
Doesn't mention it anywhere.
because I think we were ahead of that.
I'd really like to
Follow up on that.
to take some of those, to consider those professional development days. Because from my understanding on the Utah code is that we can consider those professional development days as part of these instructional days.
And right now, we don't have any of those in our calendar. We've had some professional development days for elementary, but we haven't done it, other than the first,
Like a district wide.
we haven't.
No, is it not an every year thing that we do, or was it just a 1 year that you guys went up? to
We do it
Jackson?
those the 2 days before school.
I think, because it was, we used money from, there was a one-time
It was a
money
grant.
But, our 2 in-service days, the 9th and the 10th, I don't think that would, we do some PD there, but there's part of that staff meeting, part of that, so they call them a full day professional development, so we'd have to build those in somewhere.
Which
Yeah,
I
we
don't
talked
know
about it.
if we'd be willing to, or if the teachers would want that.
Does that help you to count kids?
Well,
So my understanding of Dale's concerns, I'm kind of speaking for Dale right now, is that we don't, he's worried about messing with those waivers. If we consider, if we start counting those professional development days as instructional days, which by Utah code we can, is it gonna open a Pandora's box on relooking at this waiver that we have? Because right now, we're not, what is it, 180 something days?
180 days.
But because of the
990 hours.
4-day week, so we still hit the instructional hours, but the number of days we're on waiver to not have to hit. And so if we start counting these professional development days, is it gonna cause somebody to go, let's relook at this waiver, which fair
Yeah, that was
point.
my point. Now, how do you count those as a school day when the kids aren't in school? How do you count them? as-
Well, but it's on Utah code.
Well, I understand. but
It says that we can count those professional development days for the staff and teachers as instructional days.
That would be the first part of the code, didn't make no sense. That was my question. How can you count that when it's not, when the kids aren't in school? If you're counting hours, how do you count that? But if it's Utah code, obviously you can.
Well, maybe to be a devil's advocate or whatnot, or maybe my own advocate of this point. You have better teachers, if you develop your teachers, you make them better, then those instructional hours become more effective.
Oh, I'm certainly not against it. I'm not against the development days. I'm just curious as how in the world they count the school day with kids.
But are we trying to get away?
Certainly that, I'm not disputing that. That's great. That's what they're there for, is to make better teachers.
But are we trying to get away with the bare minimum amount of instruction that we have to give? I guess that's the question I ask, because it seems like it. It seems like, what's the bare minimum we have to do? Because I hear that all the time from the school on the north end of the Bear Lake Valley. Well, we only have to go X amount. This is all we have to.
So they go right up to the home, or they go home.
I don't know. I don't know what I haven't kept track, but my point is, are we trying to exceed the expectation of the education, or are we trying to check the box?
And see, when we first went 4-day week, as I recall, Pete, we were 157 days and we were over 1,014. So we've cut back significantly since then. And when we did that, it was to, that's a long time ago. It was to show the state, we're not gonna do the minimum. So it does, that's why I told Zach the other night, when we were riding, I hate to even open that up. Because now more schools have gone on and the whole world now's starting to change. The time in class maybe isn't that important and we can do this and that and the other, but I'm still a believer time in class is pretty important. It's like anything else.
And it's pretty
You
hard.
can't weld if you don't have a welder in your hand. You can't.
It's pretty hard to replace that book with one line.
Well, I could further muddy the water, but I brought the point up that those holidays should both of them be treated the same. I didn't specify that we ought to take them both off. I think we either ought to take them both off or we ought to go to school on both of them. That was my stance. If we need the days, Martin Luther King Day was celebrated a lot more effectively when we were in school than it is now with the day off. And
And I
the
think
same would be with President's Day too.
and I don't think we would argue that at all. But when we finally made that change,
Well, I understand the moment.
none of us, we got to the point that if we have
May not be worth the fight.
Channel 2 news up here we can tell them everything we want, and that's not the way it's gonna.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
I mean, I understand perfectly the motivation, but I also think they should be treated the same.
Yeah, and we're okay with that. I think we got more pushback on President's Day than we've gotten on almost anything. There was a significant public pushback on not going.
I had lots of calls on-
Yeah, so I think they're both at the point where the juice just isn't worth the squeeze.
Well, I'll make the motion we adopt calendar C.
And then we'll put it out. If we get beat up too much, then before we ratify it, we can relook at it.
Okay,
Well, I'm fine with that. To Eric's point, if we could bring it in at what we have to have and then take PD day on top of that, then at least it looks better. You can figure out a way to throw them on the top things.
well, I hate to see the community get to the point to where we're more concerned about the kids having the day off. And that's where President's Day came to. They weren't worried about celebrating the President of the United States.
No.
That never once came up. It's like that school and that school, they get President's Day off. Why don't we get it off? You know, that was the concern.
That's all those days. we got.
Yeah, and so my concern is
Day off.
we're more worried about having the day off than we are the kids being educated to the level they need to be.
You know, and to Zach's point, we could do March 8th as a PD day, but then it would put us down, and I hate to open that door.
Well, no, what Pete was saying though was going, we can keep this, so we still have the 154 days, but then maybe we build in some of these PD days and
In addition
to, and count those, it's, you know, maybe go 155, 156.
And I could look into that, maybe we could count those first 2 days as PD days. I mean, teachers are here anyway.
Right.
So the teachers here, I'll approach that real softly.
You know, to make it official, I mean, let's look at maybe some options to legit make it a PD day, right? Of like, maybe, I mean, last time, right, you guys went up to Jackson and had it out, was there somebody that came and spoke, right? I mean, maybe we look at, maybe we don't need to go somewhere, but have somebody come and do something for the teachers for towards PD, I don't know.
That's what we do on a one day, for sure.
And I've told her it wouldn't be official till after board meeting, but this week I reached out to again, as we had met this administrative team, the last couple of years in our PD, we had a guy come from learning Solution Tree last year and did most of the day. And we've been pretty technical in the last few, so we thought we'd try and do something maybe a little bit more motivational. And I don't know how many of you at State School Board Convention went to Tammy Pfeiffer's breakout session.
I did.
And she's got one where she can do it with teachers and do a little more in depth than she had there. And she's agreed to come. She's with a group called Unite Us and trying to get people to look at coming together and seeing the things we have in common instead of focusing so much on the things that we don't have in common. And I really enjoyed her presentation on a personal level, maybe not even so much in a couple of the other superintendents that I talked to said that was really good, not just because of what it can mean to education, for what it meant to me personally. So she's agreed to come and bring a person with her. And that's what I'd like to do with that half of the teacher day. So
Big good.
Yeah, she used to.
Awesome. Yeah, I like Pete's idea of maybe we just,
okay.
So we go.
So C is the one where we take them both off.
And they're both off.
That's what I remember, but.
Both off and going March 8th to get to that 154.
We had a motion,
Yeah, I'll restate that motion to read all second and go calendar C.
we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Unanimous vote, land purchase.
We included it in your packet, but it hadn't got the final dates or the final purchase and everything, but Mr. Lamb was good enough to drive clear over here this morning to get signature on this agreement. So with the board approval, this agreement can be sent to the title company, and I think we're there. We gave some earnest money, so I think we're pretty solid on the agreement. We did go up $2,000 from what we had talked about, but they incurred some cost in surveying and so forth. So purchase price.
Weren't we paying those anyways? I thought we were paying.
Well, he had done some, but we're paying all the closing costs.
But that's not part of the closing costs?
Yeah, he did some stuff on the roads. And so anyway, I just felt good about getting it done.
Yeah, I think that's great. Good move. Opens up a lot of possibilities for future.
Yeah. We had looked at this over here, and this is gonna be much better because we'll be off Main Street. Not Main Street, but a Main Street.
Crossing that,
Yeah.
just be part of it.
No, I heard that's a good
And
place.
we're still, we've got great proximity, and so
So we need a motion to,
I'll make the motion to move forward with the land agreement.
it's off the settlement agreement.
I will second that.
we got a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Motion is approved unanimously.
So then money changed hands at this point, and
Earnest money.
that's it.
That's it.
So settlement.
What was the settlement date on that?
Today.
So why wouldn't the money exchange?
We've still got to go to the title
Gotta
company,
be recorded.
do all of that stuff.
Check it on third title or.
The
Get
remaining
title insurance, yeah.
plus the lien.
Well, and I might just mention, maybe for the minutes, that we appreciate Ken for giving us the opportunity. That's awfully nice.
Yeah, did I understand he had others interested?
Yes. And I think they had someone says, we'll pay you whatever it is, we'll pay you more.
Yeah, so we appreciate him.
Yeah. The Jewel settlement.
I'm gonna turn this to Mrs. Johnson because she's talked to him more than I have.
I've been working with Joel Wright from the lawyer firm. And he indicated that we need to discuss all the details in an executive session. Then we have to come back out and either approve or not approve. So with your permission, I'd like to move that into executive session.
Okay,
And I guess it's considered when we make that motion for a negotiation of settlement.
Yeah, that's correct.
okay, that, stand by. Information items.
During the heat of winter, now it's spring, it doesn't really seem that important. Sorry, Pete, did you see that dirty look you gave me?
I just wondered where you've been to see it spring.
I've been sitting in here.
First day of
I
spring.
looked at the calendar and it said the first day of spring.
Wow.
It was a dirty look, Zach.
It's on
What's the
camera, I
swear
can
word
see
right
it.
now?
Yeah.
But I think some of you took some calls about why we were going to school on certain days and why we weren't, and had some discussion that maybe there needs to be a process or a policy in place. And certainly I'm open to process. And I'll do whatever the board tells me. I just don't know how you write a policy on weather. You know, I mean, maybe if you wrote a policy on temperature, you could justify that, but I don't know, you know, 'cause some days, in my opinion, it's not how much snow you got, it's
How fast
rather,
it's going
yeah,
sideways.
it's coming horizontally or vertically, is what's the bigger issue.
And I mean, so as I've thought about it more, as far as the policy, I mean, the reason why my main reason of getting a policy or something, if we can, I don't even know if we can, I don't know how, because I'm with you, it's kind of hard to write up a policy. We check all these boxes when we close the school or delay it or whatever, but there's more for like, you know, I just.
You're trying to protect
on days like that, I feel bad. I feel bad for, I know that the calls are coming in and bleep, why are you going to school? And
And
I'm fine with you going ahead and saying,
yeah,
the board has this policy and we follow this policy and we yell at the board.
I just think that's one of the times I gotta just say, that's why I make the big bucks. Take the heat and hope I make decent judgments, but the one where the most heat came, the east wind was blowing like heck in Lake Town. But you got past Kent Shed going north, it wasn't that bad, and you got up past the runaway truck ramp, I'm going bad, you got to Randolph, and there wasn't hardly any wind at all. And so, you know, if we'd have made the judgment based on Lake Town only, but the rest of the county wasn't there. And the buses could see from, it wasn't that bad, you know, right in Lake Town was the very worst, there was no question. And when I got out and was talking to Robin, and she and I were talking about 5:30, you know, it's like, that's what we were looking at. But when I started over here, it was a whole different world. So I think you gotta try and one of these days, we're gonna miss it, you know, we're gonna come when we definitely shouldn't have. This year, we were pretty lucky. Another day, when it was windy, the buses pulled in and unloaded, it started blowing and it quit blowing at about 2 o'clock. And so coming in, we were all right. Now, some teachers, well, not teachers, Casey and who came about an hour after me, Jackie, and they were in a terrible whiteout. But when I came and when the buses came, it was fine. So I just don't know how you write a policy now. Like I said, temperature, you could write a policy. I think probably if we go 40 below next year, that's probably the time I'll do it, simply because the DEF just doesn't seem to work real good at 40 below. Not at all. But to say we're gonna quit at 20 below, I would have missed half the winter. That was an exaggeration. But, you know, some people have that as, oh, if it's 20 below, you can't go. Well, we do fine at 20 below.
I think there's two things that people need to realize. Number one is when you cancel school, it has such a trickle effect. Because there's parents that work that all of a sudden have to take the day off or find a place for their kids. It's just not that easy.
There's kids that don't even get to, you know, a meal.
Yeah, I mean, there's all these other factors, but then the main thing they need to realize is if you don't feel comfortable, and I want this in the minutes.
Amen. That's
Sending your kids to school, do not send your kids to school. That's the bottom line.
Most of them are really comfortable keeping their kid home from school. Absenteeism is an all-time high. I don't understand.
You know, so that's just it. If the weather's blowing at your house or it's 40 below or whatever, and you think school should be canceled because you don't feel comfortable with your kids going, keep them home. Keep them home. Be a parent. It's not the superintendent's job to be everyone's parent.
Amen.
And I think that
Well,
needs to be
even
clearly
temperature.
articulated.
It's so variable. 10 below zero is not that bad unless you get a 20 knot wind blowing,
Yeah.
and then it's frigid.
Yeah. Even
We'll just say,
during-
okay, with X temperature, I don't think even that would hold any water.
Because at Southridge Elementary, during that cold snap, we missed some recesses because cold. But we went out when it was a lot colder than earlier in the year when we had a wind and the snow was coming. You know, and we stayed in then, but on that south side of the building, when the wind's not blowing and they're only out there for 10 minutes, kids would much rather go out there than into the gym. You wouldn't think that's the case. We stayed in for morning recess and lunch recess, and they were wanting to go out for last recess. And again, I just think, I think we're better off making those decisions on the day rather than trying to write a weather policy. But that's just my opinion, and I'll do whatever the board tells me.
I just didn't know there'd be, because we're gonna be changing what we do. In those moments, you're in communication with people. I don't know if we need to put that in a policy, probably not. I don't know.
Well, here's the other problem with policy, that in order to use it, it's gonna have to go through a lawyer. Can you imagine what fun they would have with because they can't write simple in the car. Making it, I mean,
I just,
terribly hard to understand.
I just think there's too many variables, because Lake Town can be completely different. I remember when I was in school, there were several days they canceled school for Round Valley, but no one else in the county. So we got in our truck and just drove to Lake Town and got on the bus. Because they run a bus out to Round Valley then. I mean, but there's too many. If we were all one city, if we were in the center of Logan, it would be a lot easier.
Yeah, well,
But there's no sense to keep Randolph home just because it's bad over there or vice versa.
but you made a really valid point. If you don't want, if you think it's too dangerous for your kids to go, then keep them home.
I think that's what the parents just need to understand.
Maybe that's our policy.
You can articulate that one.
So was that the issue with the buses? It wasn't the fuel?
I think it was the dad.
Yeah.
So I had two pickups that did the same thing.
It wasn't the fuel, Dylan, it was just that.
Yeah.
Well, big urine didn't freeze,
Oh, it shuts them right down.
really.
Yeah.
If they can't get DEF, doesn't matter if they get fuel. It's just, it'd be the same as running out of it.
Yeah.
They say they won't run at all.
Well, my trucks would go 15 miles an hour.
That's what we had. The bus didn't shut down, but it went
Yeah.
about 15 miles an hour.
It's hard to get anywhere very fast at 15
So
miles an hour.
don't they heat that DAP? Is there a way to heat that DAP or?
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I don't know. If it was me, I wouldn't buy a new bus. 'Cause I don't buy new trucks. I have old trucks, so I don't have to deal with
My
that.
goal is to die.
And you can
before I own a
depend on it.
tractor that uses DEF.
And I get new buses or die. I'm not saying.
Well,
I'll
sure,
buy
I'm
a
making it.
bus.
At this point, I'm
Two
okay.
buses we had no trouble with.
Can you
The ones
delete
that
a
don't
bus?
have
You can delete a pickup. Can you delete a bus?
You want the government all over you.
We don't need that in a minute.
If you delete a big truck, Peterbilt or Kenworth will not work on it.
Now, what do you call them, delete?
Take the DEF off and the filters and all that stuff.
Okay.
It has to be stock for them to work on it. And I'm assuming Ford's the same way, or whoever built the buses. They probably would not work on them if you deleted them.
But again, that was only the one day. Other than the one day,
Yeah.
we didn't have a problem.
But don't they,
And we got every kid to school
heat that?
that morning.
Don't they heat that stuff? Because I know it freezes.
Well, it's something, and I shouldn't even start talking. Something if you
Yeah.
inject.
Yeah,
It's not that it froze.
it
Deregulates
deregulates it.
Injection, it wasn't injected.
Some
right.
sensor that wasn't working right. That's what it was.
So, I don't know, but it was the injection. And so.
Okay, I'm sorry. I hate that stuff.
Tell us how you really feel.
Don't buy new equipment.
Off of that.
See you going on to the lot. Don't you have anything older than this?
2007 or older.
Well, we appreciate you taking the heat on those days.
No, and
Yeah.
the other, and it sounds like I'm patting us on the back, I'm not. But the ones that started getting cute with 2 hour delay time and this and that, superintendents looking back, were like, it just turned into a nightmare. Cause then it's every time, well, let's go 2 hour delay and let's do this, let's do that. I just think
Go or no go.
go or no go, cause they,
Yeah, you done right.
yeah.
I just have a comment. And take it for what it's worth. But when they've complained to me, I've said, you don't, believe it or not, we're the most affordable daycare in the county. And they rely on us every day to drop their kid off at 7:30 and they go to work and they don't have to worry about their kid until 4:35, 6. And we take care of their kids and they go do their jobs and they make a living. Anytime we disrupt that with a 2 hour delay or not sure if we're gonna cancel and their world is in an uproar. The majority of the parents, quiet majority out there, want their kids in a safe school environment.
Cancel school on a day you should have had it, imagine the uproar.
Yeah, because there's too many variables, like everyone's saying. It needs to be a judgment call right at that time because it changes too much.
And that kid's probably better off in the school than home alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't leave them home.
Yeah.
And you guys will always get the calls. You know, that morning it was so bad, I didn't get the calls because I think I'm too stupid to take the calls, but. You know, I didn't. And if the whole county would have been like Lake Town City, it would have probably been the right call, but as soon as you got to Kent Shed or up the canyon, it was different.
Yeah.
And east winds are just funny that way.
We're pretty resilient. We can handle a lot of things.
Yeah, just,
You have to be.
and I just hope we never have an accident on one of those days, because. And, you know, I think that's one of the reasons they were a little touchy the one day is because some kids had wrecked prior to that. But there again.
And we had a teacher that.
There again, those kids had the option to be on the yellow bus.
But it was weather related, but not necessarily weather caused.
But I would just like to say, Tim, just think about this, because I came home from state basketball that night. And when those buses got to Heber, it was bad. Because I was right behind them, so I texted Dennis and Lynn both and thanked them. Because we have some good drivers.
Yeah, I heard about that drive home.
It was-
Johnson told me about.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. And I wasn't worried about it because those two were driving the kids and Ricky too.
Yep. Oh, and
So,
along the same lines, I want to, with, Commissioner Carter isn't here anymore, but just to give a shout out to the county. I mean, they've been awesome at keeping the roads clear.
yeah, and the state.
And they
Yeah.
purposely will send the plow right in front of our buses to make sure that there's.
So, I mean, it's a worry, but we have competent people to,
Yeah, we've got some really good
Yeah.
drivers. that know how to
yeah, we
drive
do.
On a bad road.
And the state on the canyon this year has been exceptionally good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Booster Club.
I think we've, as far as I'm concerned, we wait and see what they get us. I'll put this on as an action item next month. Unless there's something one of you have to say, I just thought I'd have it on here. So if you did want discussion, but see what they do. And then I think the other thing that will need to come to light during that discussion is the letter we received on kids involved in fundraising, and we're gonna have to come all together on that.
So if I understood the letter correctly, there's not enough oversight on the money.
So is it worth, I mean, should we have, I don't even know if we can, we have like a working session with them? Or is this something that we should just have in a board meeting, invite them to come? I don't
We
know.
could certainly, if you want to do a work session and
I don't know, just throwing it out
look at
there.
that, we can certainly do that. That's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad thing to have. I mean, those two are fired up. They're trying to raise some real money. The problem lies in there's no oversight on the money. And we don't have enough control over where it goes. If you can take care of those two issues, we're better off to have them working for us than we are to not.
The only way I can see to do that is if they raise the money and turn it over to Jenny.
Well, yeah, and that, is there a problem? Could they accept that?
It would have to be every penny that they make though, and I don't know that they would accept that.
But that's something we can discuss in the work.
I think we should, I don't know if it just happens in a meeting like this, where we have an action item and we have a discussion with them, or we do a working session with them, but I think that what we need to do is lay out clearly what we're up against and what they're up against, and let's figure out how to come together, or
You know, quite frankly, unless somebody absconds with the money, they don't have much liability there, but we do.
so throwing this out, and this is potentially muddy in the waters, I don't know. As I've thought more about this, I'm over here going, along with that, those same lines, what's the difference between that situation, the Booster Club, and PTO? The two different PTOs, or the different PTOs, I mean, they're doing a similar thing, they're not doing it at the scale that the Booster Club is, but they're bringing in money outside of school, we don't have any oversight, you know, it's the same boxes could be checked for PTOs, could they not?
They're supposed to have liability insurance, and I'm not sure.
See, Laketown has a PTO,
We have a
we
PTA.
have a PTA, and because it's
What's
the
the
national, because they have to pay dues to the state PTA, so the state PTA oversees them, and they audit.
So
them.
there's a help,
But the
There's an
PTO
oversight.
doesn't. So there's some oversight from the state PTA for Southridge Elementary. But you have to pay dues, and the downside of that is, well, why are we paying dues to the state when we could just spend that money ourselves? So there's two sides of that argument.
but it's part of it, because so there's oversight,
There's oversight.
but I mean, so it's only PTA, we don't really necessarily need to worry about, but in my mind, I'm going, I mean, don't we have the same issue with PTO?
There could be some exposure there.
I'll be honest, that, to my memory, that's the first time anybody that's in Booster Club has ever come and said, we do this, and maybe it was because it was a facility situation. But they don't come to the board and say, can we buy these uniforms, or can we do this with this
No,
money?
uniforms are all,
Yeah, we have a schedule for the uniforms, so they know where they are on track with
But
uniforms.
I'm just saying, as a board member, that's the first time I've ever been approached, can we do this and that? I mean, I think they've got some ways to raise money that we can't do. Don't have the time or anything to do it. So to me, that's a plus if we can establish the criteria to be able to control it and make it to where it's not a problem for us. And we have the final decision where the money's spent. If they're willing to work under those auspices, then I don't know that we want to look at them and say, we don't need your help. But we've got to be able to do that, or we're gonna have to say, we can't use you.
And I guess the one.
Now, that problem, to interrupt you, the other problem is the leadership will change. But if there was a charter or something like that, that was binding some way, whoever came in there knew that was what was expected. Is there any way we could do that, Superintendent?
It's back to the thing of, I'm sitting here stuttering. I don't think they want to be under us, but to do the things you're saying, they've almost got to be under us.
Yeah. I mean, not in the money raising part, but as far as the spending and the accounting for the money,
And
you know,
who,
she's talking like $5,000 a pop. That's a lot of money. There better be some type of oversight on something like that, or we're hanging out there a long ways as a board in the district.
Because we
Either has
still
to
want
be
them
all in or
involved,
all
right?
out.
That's what I think. But
But
there
we
has to
gotta
be-
make sure that we're covered
Right.
if they are,
Right.
and I don't think, I don't, I mean, I pushed it, so I guess I think it's a great idea, but I thought we were in decent shape last year when we set up that they would meet with the committee, the AD and the principals and that it would be a teamwork deal to decide where the money went, not I want to sell these uniforms or these guys need uniforms or whatever it was.
and I guess,
Committee of school personnel and the club's leaders to make that decision. And if I'm treading backwards, it's because I think if you could make that kind of money and still have the control that we need, it would help us. It'd be worth doing. If you can't, then I guess that's not gonna happen.
I think, was just throwing the idea out again. I think we should have a working session with them and hash this stuff out.
That's probably a good idea.
yeah,
Cause I don't think from their comments, I don't think they realize that there's a problem.
we haven't shared the letter with them. Yeah, and the part that bothered me as much tonight about as anything, since she said at least 2 times, and I think 3 times, the coaches are coming to us. Coaches aren't supposed to be coming to them, they're supposed to be coming.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she's saying that or it's not, because Mr. Taylor has worked extremely hard on that this year and has made it clear that you know, and I think there's
She
a lot
might
of
be
things.
saying that just of going, the coaches went to the AD and then the AD came to, I mean, hopefully, but.
I don't think, when they're talking about all this travel gear and all that stuff, that's not coming to them, because, you know, the kids don't need
So that travel.
4
gear,
different
is that,
sets of
is that
travel
on
gear.
top of what we have
On the
in?
fee schedule.
So is this something we could discuss a little more in our closed session? Or is that something that can be?
I think it's a negotiation, so, yeah.
I'd probably like to do that.
HSAA.
I haven't done anything.
There were those letters that
Oh.
did you sign?
We signed.
Yeah,
it.
Did they all get
It's all
signed?
signed, yeah.
Pete, did you get it?
Yeah, I did.
USBA,
Just the regional meeting the other night, if there's anybody who wants to say anything on that. Pete let me know that there were plenty of bills discussed.
An impressive number.
I just really
Have they-
enjoy that smaller
Oh,
group, because I mean, we actually get to visit with those guys a little bit. And I think it's a lot more beneficial than the big group.
yeah, and I think Manila likes it.
And
I think,
the state must like it, 'cause we got the big dogs.
yeah, we did.
I didn't go to the other one, they came to ours.
Yeah.
that helped that it was a Bonrico.
I think so. We got the state superintendent and the governor's liaison
Yeah. that
Richard
worked out
Stoll.
good.
All the rest.
Yeah.
Jenny,
Yeah, Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny.
So are they gonna supply basically for us and for you guys, what's coming out of this legislative session, I mean,
That's what all of our next few meetings are gonna be about. I start one tomorrow.
That's why we're doing this tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
And I think that's another advantage, and hopefully if we can get this board thing changed, because USBA pays Patrick Tanner to go after the legislative session to go do sample policy on everything that requires a board policy. So we'll get a thumb drive that will have that, and then we'll have to
Then you can just plug it in,
you know,
basically.
you'll have to approve those things, but
And then link it to our,
instead of having to go to a different format and us put a lot of spin on it. And it's gonna make our board policy look so big and cumbersome, but when they pass that many laws every year, what do you do?
Yeah, does the state offer, along with that sample policy or whatnot, any sort of a system that makes, that we could tap into to help make our policy searchable online? Like, do they offer any sort of a tool
I'm
or
hoping
something
that
like
our new
that?
policy will be searchable.
Because that was one thing, is I was looking through our policy, and like, man, it'd be nice to have this more searchable, more interactive, like the state code is. You can go to state code and it's pretty interactive, and it's basically like a website that you're going through and linking to other parts of the policy. It'd be nice to have.
I'm hoping when we get this done, we'll be better at that. And also be able to link a board rule, because a lot of times you got the statute and then the state board will write some board rule, and the board rule will go even further than the statute does. So just because you look at the statute doesn't mean you're necessarily in total compliance with board rule. And it should be able to link that.
And like the USBE or something like that.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. So.
Bridgerman.
We had a meeting here a couple weeks ago. And a lot of good things are happening. Their health science building over there in Logan is on schedule to be done, I think, a month early, which doesn't happen very often. But it's coming along. They're about done with it. One thing I would mention is Bridgerland had an account at the bank here in Randolph, just in case anyone hears. But anyway, they've closed that account because that account was from when we charged fees way back when from students. And that money was figured into their operating budget. And so they didn't just take a whole bunch of money that belonged to Rich County. So if somebody hears that they closed it and cleaned the account, it was already part of that, and we voted on it. And so that happened. But no, Bridgerland's doing good. They're recognized in some national magazine as one of the outstanding technical colleges around. And anyway, they're doing good things, and they really, really like Rich County. So,
Yeah, along with Bridgerland and with our, I don't know, does Berkeley High School offer college classes or not? Do they offer? Anybody know? Bear Lake High School. Do they offer?
I don't know to what
I
extent.
was talking with a recent graduate of Bear Lake High School, just what they liked about the school, they didn't like. And one of the things that they said that they didn't like about the school is that they wish that Bear Lake High School would offer what Rich High School does with Bridgerland, with current enrollment. So I figured that they did offer concurrent enrollment, but
Not that I know.
do you care if I answer? I had a board member from Bear Lake High School actually contact me this week. And she said that she would like to see more of the concurrent. What they have right now is more of their AP classes.
yeah, that's what this individual said. Like, they have like AP classes, but they don't have concurrent.
And they don't have anything like Bridgerland.
Yeah.
They are really interested in something like that. So I invited them to call our board members and our teachers. I put them in touch with Jody here. She knows a lot about our concurrent enrollment. So,
I'm not sure a lot of the residents of Rich County realize what we are
Right.
able to offer here
yeah,
that is not offered in the rest of the world to small communities.
and it's amazing. It's our neighboring community, you know, it's very close and
Yeah.
Well, and as much money as Wyoming has had until the last 3 years. You know, they didn't do concurrent.
Required board training.
Okay, this one might be a little tough since our board is in there.
Should we bring it in?
I
We
just-
can bring it in. I didn't have the crowd chairs anticipating.
Sideways.
Stash it down.
I think there's one in there.
Yeah.
This is a new computer, so hopefully we can find.
We had that is streaming working.
That you know that.
Well, we think so. Says it is.
Something went wrong.
I hope unplugging this doesn't mess us up.
It should, that's more, you should just. Should be fun.
I looked at my clock out there when we got out of the. 5:58. I wouldn't want.
He's trying to say what's right. So you're taking-
No, it should
Always
be-
have a little,
it looks good.
little excited, not much.
We haven't stopped our Zoom.
I hate being late.
You'll have to talk to President Lamb about that.
I told him you were running. Well, I was wondering if it took longer to walk across the street than it used to. I felt bad, everybody sitting there waiting for me. I'm pretty sure I wasn't late. I was right on time, I think.
I was watching my clock. You had about 10 seconds remaining.
I left over there across the street at 5:58. I'm just gonna be right on time.
He was late. I'm saying he was late.
You can make it official. We can do an emotion in a second and everything.
Yeah, we'll tie these next time, right?
Did unplugging and mess us up, Jenny?
Yeah, what are we, 7624?
What's that?
27.
227544.
What about that? I'll take one.
Since I drank out of that one, I won't give it to you.
Well, I probably have worse pair.
Okay, so I'm not able to get into my email on this.
Thank you.
Do you want another drink?
No.
That, do you want another drink?
Take another water. Thank you. Just realized Kip's on here.
Yeah,
It's Mamona.
he was not able to attend in person tonight. The roads in the canyon are really bad. Okay, got it.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Don't know that it's coming forward now.
Serenity Dale, is that what you said? You watched that too?
No. Sorry.
What's your generation?
Watch the Simpsons.
Yeah, very good, Jenny.
What do you watch?
You don't watch
Simpsons, you don't watch Seinfeld?
It's working.
What about Friends? What about Friends? For the office.
YouTube.
On YouTube.
Great.
Gunsmoke.
Okay.
Gunsmoke.
I didn't have a TV when
Don't
we
you
were
know?
18,
Ponderosa, did you watch Ponderosa?
so I missed all the
Okay,
Gunsmoke.
I'll have to start.
It's black and white, I haven't seen it.
So I watch Gunsmoke almost every night.
I like The Office.
The Office is hilarious.
It
Hilarious.
is hilarious.
What do you do to laugh then if you don't watch one of those things?
It's got Todd.
Debbie, you better take that out of the minutes.
Yeah, that probably don't need to go, but that's a compliment. So I guess I'll take it out. It's too personal.
Okay, I'm trying to get this to come up. This is our required board training that we have to hold once a year. Our report is due by June.
I've been looking forward to this for a month.
Have you?
Yeah.
So last year we did module 1, so LEA board member training. We're gonna do module 2 today. This will be fun for everyone. Right, Kip?
Looks like Travis will.
He's excited.
I'm here and fully engaged.
Welcome. This is module 2 of the LEA Audit Committee Training Series. In this module, we will review the responsibilities of LEA Audit Committee members. First things first, we recommend that you familiarize yourselves with the laws and rules establishing the roles and responsibilities of an audit committee. The list includes, but is not limited to, Utah Code 53G-7-4 internal audits, 51-2A-201 accounting reports from political subdivisions, interlocal organizations, and other local entities act, and 53G-5-404 subsection 4 requirements for charter schools, as well as Executive Code R277-113 Local Education Agency Fiscal and Auditing Policies, R277-116 Audit Procedure, and R123-5 Requirements for Accounting Services of Political Subdivisions and Governmental Nonprofit Corporations. This training will provide a general overview of your responsibilities.
The primary purposes of an audit committee are to provide oversight of assurance processes, internal control system, including risk management, compliance with laws and regulations, and other similar activities. To understand the scope of your oversight responsibilities, we recommend that the audit committee request a list of all the assurance activities that are or will be occurring within your LEA during the fiscal year from administration and internal audit if applicable. Remember in module 1, we discussed that assurance activities include external audits, internal audits, and monitoring. External audits may also include additional one-time state or federal audits. If additional assurance activities happen during the year, the list should be updated. It will be helpful to the committee for the list to include 1, the individual or entity performing the assurance activity, including the name of the entity, as well as the contact person at the entity, and 2, a timeline of when the assurance activity will be started and expected completion date. The committee should compare this list with assurance activities that are required by law to make sure it is comprehensive. The committee should establish policies and procedures to outline how it will keep track of the different assurance activities.
Do you recall the $11 million embezzlement from the Roslyn School District discussed in Module 1? This module will also include information from the New York State Comptroller's Office audits of the school district, including some recommendations, which are in alignment with the concepts discussed in this training. One recommendation in the audit states, the responsibilities of the audit committee should include
providing timely oversight of external and internal audit work, and involvement in the selection process of external and internal auditors. Independent Audit Services, page 42.
Did you catch the recommendation in the second bullet point related to the audit committee's role in the selection process of the external auditor? The audit committee has significant responsibilities related to the procurement process for the independent external auditor that will complete the audit of the financial statements, the single audit, and the state compliance audit. The LEA board has ultimate responsibility for selecting the independent external auditor and ensuring that a quality audit is obtained. However, the audit committee may make recommendations to the board regarding the selection of the auditor. There are a few things to keep in mind when making recommendations about the external auditor. First, the external auditor must meet professional peer review and continuing education standards. The audit committee is required to report its assessment of the auditor's compliance with professional standards to the governing body. Second, the procurement process for an external auditor is outlined in procurement code, with additional requirements included in a rule from the Office of the State Auditor. The additional requirements include the need to competitively procure audit services at least every 5 years, the information that must be included in the request for proposal, otherwise known as an RFP, and the need for 3 qualified responses to the RFP. If 3 responses are not obtained, you must contact the Office of the State Auditor and give an additional 5 business days for the submission of additional proposals. Remember how we talked about the professional standards of independence and objectivity for auditors in the last training module? These principles are likely a significant reason for the requirement to get multiple bids. They're also a significant reason for the next requirement, which is management or administration of the LEA may not participate in the evaluation of proposals. Remember that one responsibility of the audit committee is to provide an independent forum where auditors can report findings of fraud, waste, abuse, non-compliance, or internal control weaknesses. An independent forum is particularly important if LEA administration is involved in a concern.
Before we talk about the audit process, let's talk about audit procurement at Roslyn. We pointed out in Module 1 that the audit states that it is the board's responsibility through established policies and procedures to ensure that quality audit services are procured. Independent Audit Services, page 10. This is also a requirement in Utah. So where did Roslyn go wrong with their procurement of audit services? The audit states the district's written policies and procedures for the procurement of audit services were generally adequate. However, the district did not comply with its own policies to obtain requests for proposals, RFPs, for professional audit services. Instead, the district contracted with the same CPA firm each year for 12 years without seeking competitive offers from other firms. Page 5. Also, do you remember from Module 1 that the CPA firm had a conflict of interest? They were not independent either.
Now that you are aware of audit procurement requirements in Utah, let's move to the audit process. Once you have a contract in place, or once you have been notified your LEA will be subject to an audit or assurance activity, you can generally expect an engagement letter. An engagement letter outlines the purpose, scope, and objectives of an assurance activity, and also outlines management's responsibilities. In addition to the engagement letter, the auditor or monitor may also request an entrance or opening conference for further discussion of the assurance activity. To ensure you understand each assurance activity so you can appropriately oversee it, the audit committee should request a copy of all engagement letters and should consider having a member attend the opening conference if one is held. This is a good way to ensure open and direct communication between the audit committee and the team that will complete the audit. For audits already in process, we recommend that you reach out to the contact person, usually an audit manager or supervisor, to let them know they can directly communicate with the audit committee. The audit committee can also remind the auditor that one of the responsibilities of the audit committee is to provide an independent forum where the auditor should report findings of fraud, waste, abuse, non-compliance, or internal control weaknesses, particularly if LEA administration is involved. Finally, audit committee members, or at least the chair, can expect that the auditor will have some questions for them about fraud, risk, internal controls, significant unusual transactions, and related party relationships and transactions. These questions are required by professional auditing standards, and auditors may ask similar questions to the administration and other LEA staff that the auditors interact with during the audit. Elements of the audits are done based on risk, so these questions help the auditor to know where to focus their time since they will not be looking at everything. Once an audit or other assurance activity is in process, the audit committee may want to ask for periodic updates from the auditor. This will help prevent surprises at the conclusion of the audit. You may want to develop a policy and procedure for this. Additionally, if disagreements arise between auditors and LEA administration or staff, the audit committee must review them, informing the full board as appropriate. The board can then take any necessary action. You may want to develop a policy and procedure for this too.
We know that Roslyn didn't procure their audit services as they should have. But what about the audit process the CPA firm used? Was the audit at least done well? The audit found that the annual financial statement audit of the district did not meet 9 of 22 required professional standards. The audit was significantly deficient in planning and execution. Independent Audit Services, page 6, and did not meet professional requirements, page 15. Ultimately, a multi-million-dollar fraud by district personnel was not identified, even when the CPA firm was aware that a fraud had occurred, page 6. As an example of an audit planning deficiency, the CPA firm was supposed to consider the 5 components of an internal control system. They only considered one, control activities, and not well. The audit indicated that the auditors did not adequately assess risk factors, including the factor management, operating, and financing decisions are dominated by a single person. The audit states the district and the board relied heavily on and implicitly trusted the superintendent. Page 20 through 22. This situation emphasizes why it is so important that the audit committee be involved in the audit procurement process, directly communicate with their external auditors, and thoroughly review and understand audit reports, which is our next topic.
The audit committee should expect a formal report with the results of the assurance activity once it is complete. The reporting process will usually be similar for most assurance activities, but there could be a few differences depending on the audit entity. The general process is that a preliminary draft report is prepared and discussed with the LEA at an exit or closing conference. A member of the audit committee should attend if possible. At that point, the administration and audit committee member can ask questions, provide additional information, and suggest changes to the report. The auditor will then provide a final draft with any changes made based on feedback from closing conference, and will ask for an official response to the specific recommendations. The audit committee should consider the response as it is included with the audit report, and the audit entity may hold the LEA to the information provided in the response. The final report should be provided to the entire LEA board. The audit committee should arrange to receive and review the reports for all assurance activities occurring within its LEA, including external audits, internal audits, and monitoring. Be aware that auditing standards generally call for an auditor to outline the following elements when a concern is identified. Criteria. What should happen? Meaning, what does law, rule, or best practice require? Condition. What did happen? Cause. Why did the condition happen? Effect. What is the impact? Why should you care? Recommendation. What action can be taken to resolve the cost? The auditors may explicitly identify these elements in their report, but not. However, be aware that the recommendation should address the cause, and in considering corrective action, you will want to focus on the cause. LEA administration has the responsibility to take corrective action in response to each finding in the report. The audit committee is responsible to ensure that a corrective action by LEA administration on each finding is adequate and taken in a timely manner. So as a committee, you will need to create a system of reporting from the administration to the committee. These reports should include regular updates on the status of addressing these issues until administration
has taken all the necessary steps to appropriately address and resolve the concerns. As a committee of the LEA board, the committee must also, as appropriate, present information and reports from the audit committee meetings to the board. There's one additional responsibility you should be aware of. The audit committee must be aware of non-audit services that are sometimes connected with assurance activities. Example of non-audit services are accounting or bookkeeping, financial information systems design and implementation, appraisal or valuation services, fairness opinions or contribution in kind reports, consultations, management functions or human resources, broker-dealer, investment advisor, or investment banking services, and legal services and expert services unrelated to the audit. The audit committee must determine the scope and objectives of these non-audit services. In other words, ensure that anyone involved in the audit does not also provide any of the non-audit services. Auditors must be independent of these non-audit activities as discussed in Module 1. So let's recap. Each LEA audit committee must: 1, communicate directly with assurance providers. 2, ensure that required assurance activities are taking place within their LEA and procure them as required. 3, receive and review all assurance reports. 4, ensure that corrective action is taken and issues are resolved in a timely manner. 5, settle disputes between LEA administration and assurance providers if they arise. 6, serve as an independent forum for assurance providers to discuss concerns. 7, keep the board informed of these matters. And 8, be aware of non-audit services. Finally, please remember that the responsibilities outlined in this training are in addition to the requirement for the LEA board to provide a hotline as discussed in Module 1. As a brief reminder, an LEA governing board must provide a hotline independent from administration for stakeholders to report concerns. The LEA board can choose to create and manage its own independent hotline, or the LEA board can choose to Utah Department of Education's public education hotline in fulfilling these obligations. Either is acceptable. This concludes Module 2 for LEA Audit Committee members. There is one additional module required for Audit Committee members in LEAs with more than 10,000 students. However, all board members are welcome to participate in the Module 3 training. If you have specific questions on this training, please contact the USBE Internal Audit Department at 801-538-7813 or audit@schools.utah.gov. There is also additional information available on our website, schools.utah.gov/internal-audit. Finally, if you believe some additional training would be helpful for your audit committee, the USBE Internal Audit Department is happy to schedule something with you. Just give us a call or send an email. Thank you for participating.
Oh, the first day that we sign up for Monday.com.
Years.
Is max. And then you have to go out for an RFP, like they were discussing.
So MRFP, you know, 100% on the back.
Yes. You can. you have to go through that process. It was last year, so we have 4 more years. Yes.
Hey, guys, you need to fix your audio. I can't hear you very well.
Can't hear the audio.
I mean, that's the audio, right?
Yeah, should we put the board in the other room?
Yeah, that's better now.
That's better. Okay, I clicked on Al again, so hopefully that helps. Thanks.
And it's still, it went soft again. Can't hear you very well.
They were kind of whispering over there. Can you hear me?
I got you, Dale. Be no, yeah.
Okay, that was it for the exciting training.
That's pretty
Thank
exciting.
you, board. I appreciate everything you do on the audit committee, and if anyone would like to volunteer this year, we're taking applications. There needs to be 2 from the board, but no more.
When does that start?
We have a meeting in November-ish, sometimes the end of October. It depends on when the audit is completed. And if you would like to have more audit committee meetings throughout the year, I'm open to that. You want to be in the budget
You said there has
process?
to be, is there 2 of us have to be on that? Is that what you said? Or can't?
At the most 2, and preferably
Because you can't have a quorum.
2.
Right.
That's correct, not a quorum.
Are you ready to go into executive session?
I think so, are we?
Do we want to do the April board meeting date? Look at that.
The third Tuesday is the 18th, and we're supposed to be at training on that day.
I can't the week before, but I could the week after.
25th.
You look sleepy.
Pardon me?
That work for Texas?
20. Yeah, that works for me.
I'll
That
be
work
at
for you,
meetings
Jen?
actually till the 26th.
We've been doing 24th.
Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, come home Wednesday.
What about the 10th?
I'm available the 10th.
I'm gonna be gone that week, but
That's
What about the
Easter Monday.
26th?
26th.
And maybe I can miss my Wednesday portion. It's my UASBO, so that's the BA training. So I hate to miss that one.
What about the 19th?
We'll be back. We could do the 19th.
19th would be good.
That work?
I think that's better and put it off later in April.
What about Texas? So
Well, it would be better for me than next week, but I'll do whatever.
19th works for me.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
April 19th.
Alright. Free motion on that.
no,
Just information to that.
We do need a motion to go into executive session.
Yeah, I'll make that motion. I'll second
A motion and a second to go into executive session. Mr. McKee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Myself, vote aye. Mr. Walmsley,
Yep, I'm in favor.
Mr. Cornea,
Aye.
Mr. Savy,
Aye, good.
the vote is unanimous. Go into executive session.
I push on the button.
Just everything. We need a motion to come out of closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Does that need to be a individual
You have to have a roll call.
roll call? All
Yeah.
right, Mr. McGee,
Yeah, in favor.
myself, I'm in favor. Mr. Walmsley,
Eric Walmsley, I'm in favor.
In favor.
Steve,
I'm in favor also.
Mr. Sadie, we have a unanimous vote to come out of closed session. President R, Mrs. Johnson, Mr. McGee, myself, Richard Lamb. Walmsley, Cornea, Scott Sadie, and Superintendent, and our two principals.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we, I guess, extend the contract or accept the provisional teachers and make them career, Lex Cornea, Andrew Carlisle, Ruby Hunter. I'll do a separate motion, so I'll just.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
I'll make the motion that we continue with provisional teachers, Ashley Rex, Jaden Larson, Stephen Pugmire, Shelley Staple, Freddie Lundgren, and Chelsea Stewart.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, I'll make the motion that we hire Katrina Reese and Kristen Walker as special ed aides.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. Also make the motion that we hire Brian Toomer as our special ed director, working also in technology.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. And then I'll make the motion that we accept, can I do all three of these resignations together? The resignation of Mr. Mata, who's been on special assignment the past little while. Also, the resignation of Mr. Taylor, who's serving as our high school principal. And with that, we'll start advertising that job starting tomorrow. Then also Wendy Lamborn as our head volleyball coach. With a special thanks to each of these for all they've done and the effort they've put forth to help the students in our district.
You want to put as part of that motion, Wendy, we'll open that up, or is that you just have a motion, we'll open that up for 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah, and we'll open up that job also starting tomorrow for 2 weeks.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I would like to make a motion to approve the Jewel settlement as presented.
Okay.
Have a
I will
second?
second that.
All in favor?
Aye. Can I make one more motion?
Yeah, let's make one more motion.
Make the motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
Wow, we did it.